Welcome to the third and final video, Bentonville Grappling with Mental Health and the IAD Framework. Let's continue. Since we have adequately discussed the institutional analysis and design framework, let us shift to discussing my group's project, Bentonville Grappling with Mental Health. Initially, our project hoped to develop a grappling program to teach the law enforcement officers, LEOs, of the Bentonville Police Department, BPD, safer methods of physical coercion. However, after extended self-evaluation, our group decided to shift our attention to the mental health training of Bentonville's police officers. Due to the increasing social awareness of police brutality in the United States, a general call for reform in policing methods has arisen from the civilian population. The debate over reform has created a wide spectrum of ideas, from the defunding of the police nationwide to increased funding for law enforcement departments. Bentonville Grappling with Mental Health intends to follow a more moderate approach that could provide a compromise for both sides of the spectrum. Particularly, our project hopes to provide increased mental health awareness and resilience training for Bentonville's LEOs. After looking through a variety of sources related to increased mental health training for police officers, I came across Resilience Training Program Reduces Physiological and Psychological Stress in Police Officers by Roland McCratty and Mike Atkinson. Along with presenting a means by which stress levels in LEOs can be reduced, the study provides key insights into the effects of environment and traumatic events on police officers. Research suggests that police work is among the most stressful occupations in the world, and officers typically suffer a variety of physiological, psychological, and behavioral effects and symptoms. Extremely stressful situations and environments can lead to law enforcement officers not properly performing their duties or unnecessary harmful force being applied to civilians. To address this topic, the study explored the nature and degree of physiological activation typically experienced of officers on the job and the impact of the coherence, advantage, resilience, and performance enhancement training on a group of police officers from Santa Clara County, California. Officers often find themselves in life-threatening situations, which can result in death or harm for the parties involved. Traumatic events can increase the likelihood of violent encounters between law enforcement officers and civilians. Furthermore, the resilient memories from these situations can have an impact on the occupational habits and responses of the law enforcement officers during highly stressful events. Now, let's take a look at the action arena for mental health training and police officers. The participants are simply characterized as the police officers, the general civilian population, and civilians that interact with the police. Also falling under the category of actors in the action arena, the evaluation, selection, resources, and knowledge of the three groups must be taken into account. As civilians represent a diverse body from every echelon of society, it is difficult to give an overarching evaluation of those four parts. So these should be thought of on an individual basis. However, police officers as a whole can be valued as the protectors and enforcers of our society, are selected by having minimal qualifications as compared to other fields, and receive forms of specialized immunity and training in physical and mental coercion. Regarding the control of participants, almost full control is limited to the LEOs, while civilians and the public only have control over their private journaling of encounters with the police. In turn, this dynamic of control facilitates two forms of information dissemination, one which portrays police as oppressors, and one which presents police as simply performing their duties. In terms of positions, there are two main stances on increased training for LEOs. The first position is that greater spending on police in the past has not corrected their harmful behaviors, so police departments and agencies should either not receive more funding and training or be defunded. The second position is that there should be greater emphasis on the training and selection of police officers in the field. So, What are the possible outcomes of increased mental health training for police? One outcome is that the training has no or a limited effects on the amount of deadly or harmful encounters with police. The other outcome is that there is a general reduction in violent responses by the LEOs. As our program will have no fiduciary costs for the police officers and will be based on volunteerism, the only costs would be a few hours of the officer's time. However, the benefits from our program's intervention would be a reduction in violent LEO occurrences, greater knowledge in psychology for cops, and more public trust in law enforcement. Earlier in this presentation, we established the cyclical movement of cause and effect through the framework. Due to these linkages, it is apparent that either of my presented outcomes will have a direct impact on the action arena and the rules in use. If the program is successful in reducing harmful incidents between LEOs and civilians, then the expectation is that the aggregation, authority, payoff, and information rules of the BPD would be positively altered to reflect this outcome. If the program is not successful, then the expectation is that the rules in use in the action arena will not be changed. The study found that the resilience training methods produced several positive effects for the participants. Particularly, the researchers found that the coherence advantage training increased awareness and self-engagement of stress reactions, reduced distress, anger, sadness, and fatigue, reduced sleeplessness and physical stress symptoms, allowed for quicker recalibration following acute stress, led to greater confidence, balance, and clarity when under acute stress, and improved work performance and communication. In the words of McCratty et al., officers who practice the self-regulation skills experience marked reductions in negative emotions, fatigue, and physical stress symptoms, as well as increased peacefulness, physical vitality, and improved work performance. In particular, significant improvements occurred in communication difficulties at work and in strained family relationships, two prominent sources of stress for police. Results suggest that the skills provided in the program were effective in reducing the most fundamental sources of participant stress responses by giving them greater ability to manage stress-producing perceptions and negative emotional reactive patterns. Although the study provides fascinating insights into how increased mental health training for LEOs can be beneficial, there were certain limitations to the study. First, the study was conducted using a relatively small group, 65 total participants, 64 police officers, and one city manager. Furthermore, the study makes broad assumptions about police work while only drawing from police officers in Santa Clara County, California. The study also only utilized 10 female police officers, limiting the scope of its presented effects. Finally, the stressful situations applied to the participants were obvious simulations which alter the amount of produced stress. Of course, this brings the results of the study partially into question. In conclusion, resilience training program reduces physiological and psychological stress in police officers, provides a great example of how the application of mental health training methods can positively benefit both police officers and the civilian population. This source shows that the proper utilization of emotional and stress self-regulation methods can significantly alter the negative stress-based responses of law enforcement officers. Furthermore, the study offers examples of how mental trauma held by police officers not only impacts interactions with police, but it can also result in creating toxic work environments, partnerships, and households. I hope that everyone appreciates the value of the IAD framework. Thank you all for following along.